Hello and welcome to the Tifo Football Podcast. I'm Joe Devine, and today I'm delighted to be joined by JJ Bull.
Hello.
Colin Millar.
Hello.
And Jon Mackenzie.
Yo, yo.
There he is. Also, we got Steve Hankey.
Hello.
There he is in the box over there. Now, what do we talk about on today's show? Well, we start with an overview of the so-called Big Six, which we definitely did not finish in this show. Here's the headline. We were going to do a show about all the Big Six teams there, apart from Arsenal.
The so-called Big Six.
The so-called Big Six teams, apart from Arsenal. And we were going to...
The Big Five.
Who just have to be called the champions, of course. That's what Steve says. What happened was Rodri Barcelona news occurred, so we talked about that a little bit instead, and we ran out of time after doing two of the teams. So the headline is, it's a Manchester sort of show. We didn't do any other teams. It was just a Manchester show.
Manchester via Barcelona.
That's right. We began with Manchester United. Will they be a lot of fun this season, as John seems to think they will? And will their midfield be like a box of top shelf chocolates? We asked that question in today's show. Then we played the Rondo, a very competitive Rondo. Let me tell you, one of the more competitive Rondos we've ever had, I think. After the Rondo, Spanish midfielder Rodri may be moving to Spain, but where? To which club? Possibly not to where you think, based on some exciting news that Colin helped with the reporting on the day, and we talk about that today. We also discuss what type of person you are based on how you cross the road. There's two types, and listen, there's only one good type. There's two types, though. And then we also discuss what kind of fridge is Enzo Maresca, a fridge you love or a functional white good. We discuss. We also talk in more depth about Manchester City and what we think might happen in their season. I think that was it, wasn't it, Steve?
Indeed.
Yeah. A little bit of parish notices here. As Steve, I quite like that though. Parish notices. That's nice, isn't it? For the theological bent to our podcast, the parish notices. Right. Next week.
What does that mean? Is that
in the church? The little notices that you'd pin up to say, "There's the art class, the pottery class is on Thursday morning." You know,
nice.
Except it's not because they've locked the doors. The Pope is dead. You know, those sorts of things.
Again.
Next week, there's no Monday show. Because of staffing issues. So don't expect that. Next week, instead, we're recording on Wednesday. We'll release a proper podcast with two of these three on for Thursday morning. This is what I'm saying. What I'm saying is parish notices, Thursday morning next week, there's a show. There'll also be a ring for analysis at some point, possibly two. Don't count your lucky stars or chickens, though. There you go. Beyond that, we have a live event, John, don't we? It's not strictly speaking a Tifo live event, but it's a Tifo adjacent live event, and it's about your book.
Yes, but it features you heavily.
That's
also,
true. Yeah.
Because you're going
because I'm heavy while I'm there.
Well, you see, what happened was they were like, who would you like to interview you? And I was like, who's the guy who gives me the most space and time to express my sometimes flowing thoughts? Mm-hmm. And I thought, you're just the guy to do that.
That's true, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it's a conversation, I believe, is what it's put down as.
It's not going to be a conversation. Let me tell you, it's going to be a hard-hitting interview. That's right. If you want to find out, how good this book really is, it's going to be. Not that. Something got cut.
The first of the season.
It's going to be Frost Nixon. It's going to be Frost Nixon, not the other one I said.
But if people are interested, it's Tuesday, 15th of September. 2026.
There's some time away.
Yeah, and it's.
Oh, do you know that's not that far anymore?
It's not that far, really.
Wow.
It's about a month away.
Where is it?
It's in. The doors are 18.
Not the doors. Where is it?
It's in the Blue Monk, which is a pub in Bermondsey.
In London. Just say London. No one knows where Bermondsey is. I lived in London for 20 years. I have no idea where Bermondsey is.
But the people who are going to come to it know that Bermondsey is in London.
Do you know where Bermondsey is?
Yeah, I do. It's where it's where the beer mile is.
He's been to the Blue Monk.
Yeah, I've played it. Yeah,
but that's why you know, because you've got a special interest drinking.
Yeah, I love drinking. Also, it's the sister venue of the Volley.
So, right. So I know where that is because that's in Old Street, which is a real place that people know where that is.
Yeah.
Bermondsey's a fake place. I don't know
where Old Street is.
It's a pretend place, Bermondsey. Okay, we go to the Blue Monk in Bermondsey on the
On the 15th of September.
15th of September. I should add this to my
Now,
diary.
if you want to come, you have to get a ticket, but
it's free.
It's free.
But you do have to register.
Yes.
Yeah.
They decided that I wasn't going to get anyone to spend any money to come and see me. So,
Right,
and you
right.
too, by extension.
I don't think they knew
I feel
about
less
me.
bad about that.
I think if they'd known about me when they put the event on, they would have charged at least £100 per
but
ticket.
yeah, you do need to sign up. There's an Eventbrite link for that. I'll retweet the tweet on my timeline and I'll put it in the Discord. So if people need it, maybe we could even put it in the show notes or whatever you call it.
Right.
Is that how you do this?
Show
I
notes.
don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, please come. It'd be lovely to see you. We do have our Tifo event in September as well.
The week
at the Leicester
before.
Square Theatre. Is it the week before?
8th of September.
Okay, so we'll be coming down from a real big crowd and we'll be very casual in front of a small bunch of freeloaders.
It's also worth saying that if people are unhappy that I'm only presenting in London, there is going to be a Manchester event at the Waterstones in Deansgate, but it's not completely finalised yet.
But no Leeds, no Barcelona, no Tokyo,
no.
Okay, do you know what? I've heard the names of the people who might be me in Manchester though. Pretty good, pretty exciting names. Pretty good names. Yeah.
Wayne Rooney.
No, sadly not Wayne Rooney. Anyway, there we go. Come to that. It doesn't have a name, but come to it anyway. Is that the end of the parish notices, Steve?
Believe so.
Oh no, it says that Steve is hosting the pottery event in the patio of the. This bit's lost its steam. Let's just get on with the show.
Yeah.
Well, where else to begin, of course, than with the biggest club in world football, Aberdeen! No, it's Manchester United. We're going to talk about Manchester United first on our sort of trails through the Premier League top six. Plus, we're going to make a pit stop at Barcelona. Manchester United, the new Premier League season is just over 2 weeks away when reigning champions Arsenal, writes Steve, host newly promoted Coventry City on Friday the 21st of August. What a gimme game that is. Is there like a deal that Premier League champions get with the Premier League where they get to play one of the relegated teams at the beginning of the next season?
Don't know.
I mean, it was... What was it last season? It was Bournemouth, Liverpool's first game of the season, wasn't it?
It's actually a toughie. Yeah. That's a toughie. The Andoni Iraola derby, they call that now, I guess, don't they? Anyway, we're not talking about Arsenal. In fact, we've actually banned them from the episode, haven't we? Because we did too much talking about them earlier this week. Instead, we're going to look at some of the other so-called, right, Steve, top six sides. I don't even know what that means. They literally are top six
but
sides.
They're not, though, because two of the so-called...
No, but Man United were in the top six, weren't they?
Yeah. But like Chelsea, Tottenham.
Right, you're saying...
They were in the so-called
big six. Yeah, okay. And what we should expect from them this season. Anyway, we're going to start with Manchester United. The Red Devils are back in the Champions League big time after finishing third last season, which was actually somewhat of a surprise, I would say. You wouldn't have thought that halfway through. But how will they adopt to having to play a more than the bare minimum number of games? Now, that was the main criticism, the story last year. Well, sure, they're good. They've got a lot of players, but they've only played 12 games of football, so obviously they've got plenty of time to rest. John, you've watched them a little bit in pre-season already. You've said to me, and now this is a pretty rare word for you to use. You said you think they will be, quote, fun this year, Manchester United.
I said that to some of my Manchester United supporting friends, and they didn't take it as a compliment.
Oh,
I think they assumed that I meant
fun for you,
derogatory.
Yeah.
But I didn't mean that. I think Manchester United are really interesting, right? They, as you said, the bigger picture rise and fall that they had, finishing quite low the season before last season, and then finishing third.
Quite low, very
15th,
low.
I think it was.
15th, 14th,
15th. Like it was around there. And then managing to get up to third by bringing in that front line, bringing in a new goalkeeper and having that sort of transformation. I think a lot of people assumed that would happen again this summer, but hasn't seemed to have happened for whatever reason. Because, they're rebuilding the midfield. It seems as though they're trying to be quite responsible in the market in terms of not spending too much money or not spending money on maybe profiles that won't help them in the future or would, won't benefit them in the long run.
Or profiles that every club is after right now.
Yeah, I think so. And I made a short about this, and I think it's really interesting because the assumption was they are going to bring in a sort of modern meta midfielder, which is this idea of some guy who's like a large space player, can cover a lot of ground.
Like a Declan Rice?
Like a Declan Rice, yeah. Which is obviously, and this happens a lot, right? When a team wins the league playing in a certain way, it then becomes a bit of a blueprint for other teams to be like, oh, well, if we're building our midfield, we need to build our midfield like the team that have just won the league. So I think the assumption with Man United, with them having that improvement, was, oh, well, we now expect them to bring in that kind of player.
Yeah, and they've brought in Yuri Tielemans from Villa. They brought in Andres Santos from Chelsea.
Yeah.
Who else? Did they sign anyone else?
Carl Darlow from Leeds United.
Carl Darlow,
I wish he could forget.
He won't be playing in midfield, though.
No.
Unless things go quite wrong.
Yeah.
And
Mason Mount has returned from injury and played in pre-season
and
games,
has looked
right?
excellent, but it's risky to, I think, rely on.
Sort of not really allowed to say it out loud, are you, for fear that you might break him?
The other thing is that they've been linked with Hall. What's his first name?
Lewis Hall from Newcastle, the left back.
Yeah, just couldn't remember his first name. But yeah, he's the left back, but he has played in midfield as well, so
really?
you potentially could get minutes out of him as well
right.
there. So
if they sign him,
now that's not and that's not to say that Man United won't sign one of these large space midfielders with a bit more mobility out of possession.
Is it worth saying that, like, we're at that stage where the season hasn't started yet, everyone's a bit more calm and being a bit more sensible? If you lose the first couple of games, then and the window's still open, true. It's a bit. I always feel like that period of the transfer window is like the chocolate shelf that they leave near the till. You know, you've made it through the supermarket without making too many impulse purchases, and then you're standing in the queue, and a Boost is just catching your eye. Do you know what I mean? That's that 2-week period where the Premier League has started and the transfer window is still open. And
that's what I think is so interesting about Man United this season, is because it almost feels as though, maybe they'll go for one of those players if a good deal arises. But if it doesn't, they're not going to just buy. Because I think in the past, what they might have done is just bought like the most available version that is probably not the top, to use the metaphor, top shelf chocolate brand. It's like the supermarket's own brand or something.
I'm thinking, when you say top shelf chocolate brand, I'm thinking of a sort of sexy chocolate. You don't mean that. You mean the more premium chocolate.
Yeah, the more premium chocolate.
The sort of green and blacks, 70% dark milk.
Yeah, exactly.
Dark mint.
Rather than going for, I don't know, like a Tesco Kit Kat or something. That you eat it and then you wonder why you did that.
The thing is about this analogy is where it falls down is that I actually think that cheaper chocolate, Christmas chocolate, chocolate,
Easter egg chocolate,
which almost isn't chocolate, is in some ways. Maybe it's not better. It's just different. It's like a completely different thing, isn't it?
You're an addict, though, so that does.
I am addicted to food. You're right. I have to eat it every day.
Stuff. But yeah, I think what's going to be interesting is I think that they'll go into this season maybe playing a midfield that doesn't have that kind of player.
Yeah.
And I think they're potentially sort of toying with what's going on in the tactical landscape and being like, actually, do we need that kind of player? If we bring in a sort of highly technical midfield, could we maybe make it work? And if they can make it work, and there's ways of making it work, and they can get Champions League out of it, then they could go into the market next summer and maybe buy that midfielder if they wanted to. If it doesn't work, I guess they could then, I don't know what will happen. But I think that what they're doing here is, yes, they're trying to be a bit more responsible, not spending money that will be wasted later down the line. Even if they bring in your Declan Rice light later on,
sure,
you can still use Yuri Tielemans, you can still use Andre Santos. They're not going to become useless players. But if it does work out, then maybe there's a way of playing the game which is a bit more efficient in terms of the market.
Yeah,
I think it's a really interesting point as well around transfers, because the wisdom is, like the best run clubs get their business done early, whereas clubs who sign in the last week or two are kind of, it's almost like an impulse signing, or it's a reactionary signing to start the season, or to panicking and so on and so forth. I'm not sure how true that actually is anymore, because I think every club at this level will have a short list of maybe 10, 15 players. And
it's also a World Cup summer, right?
Exactly. So those deals can be quite difficult to get done. I think in the case of Tielemans and Andre Santos, those are relatively straightforward, because Tielemans had a release clause, right? So that was easy enough to do. It was like Cunha last summer for Manchester United. And Andre Santos was a player who Chelsea were quite keen to sell, not because of his footballing abilities, but because of their own need to sign. The fact that he had a market, he had a high price, and that was sort of okay for them. So I wouldn't be surprised. In fact, I would think it's quite likely if United go in for a third midfield sign-in, plus I would say at least one or two others. Obviously, we've talked about the left-back situation. I think they lack depth in the forward areas too, but it probably will just keep circling back to that increase in games, right? But I kind of think they only played 40 games last season, and yeah, I think that's more of a positive than playing like 65, 70, which exhausts you and burns you out. That's kind of sort of wisdom, right? But I think 40 is almost too few as well, because those fringe players last season, the players who weren't in that starting 11 just weren't playing enough. They didn't have any rhythm at all. So whenever you do get one or two injuries, that does cause problems. So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, that increase overall. And another thing is Manchester United didn't have too many players who played a lot in the World Cup either, right? So I think for this season, they should theoretically be quite fresh.
Little fresh.
Yeah. So they could, in that sense, if we're theorizing, make quite a strong start on that basis, that they're coming in and they've got a bit of rhythm anyway, right?
Yeah. I was just thinking immediately of Szoboszlai for Liverpool, who didn't play in the World Cup. And in pre-season, he's just been absolutely like on fire in terms of his physical ability. I mean, obviously playing for an Iraola team, you're seeing a lot of that. So maybe I'm just like biased towards the play style. But
and we are going to talk about Liverpool a little bit later as well.
But that's a great example, I think, of actually if you've got a player who has had the summer off, you're in a good position to be able to actually probably carry fitness.
Why are they going to be fun though?
Yeah, I mean, well, I guess for me, the fun is going to come from seeing whether or not this experiment works. If they don't go for a large space midfielder, does that mean that we are going to start moving away from that kind? And I think that's the interesting thing about the tactical landscape.
Is it worth saying just before you get to that the way that they've been playing in pre-season in terms of the lineup, they've been playing Mason Mount in the pivot in a couple of games with Andre Santos, and so. Obviously the thing with Mason Mount is that he gets very injured, so you can't really rely on him for a whole season. But he is currently playing there and has played well. You could make the argument from the personnel used in preseason that you don't need that.
Yeah, they've got two for both slots.
But you're talking about profiles rather than actual players.
Yeah, and again, maybe this is why I think they're fun, because I think the solution that's potentially being found. Again, I'm caveating hard here because maybe they will go for someone like Carlos Baleba or something who I think would fix a lot of those problems. But if they don't go for that kind of profile, there are tactical ways of solving the problems of large spaces, right? Which is making sure that those spaces don't open out, or making sure you've got fixes for those problems. And I think that's really interesting in the context of someone like Iraola, because Iraola didn't really have any of those sorts of like modern meta midfielders. They sort of worked as a team to overcome some of those. At Bournemouth, yeah. And so there's things that you can do, right? One of them is that you reduce the amount of space that you're allowed to open out there. Now that can be a problem because space is, it's a zero-sum game. If you're reducing space in some areas, you're opening space somewhere else. And again, the modern elite ideas about how you play football is you press high up the pitch and refuse to allow the opponent to settle. But I think that and the other thing you can do that's worth saying quickly is just using your centre-backs to step up into that space. If you feel as though that you're not getting enough coverage, having a really aggressive centre-back to help cover in the middle, which leaves you exposed on the back line, obviously, because of those trade-offs.
And doesn't really happen if you're playing Harry Maguire.
Yeah, right. And so that's another question, is do you go with like a back line of Aiden Heaven and Lenny Yoro, for example, who I think probably could do that quite well, or do you go with Martinez and Maguire, and maybe that's you're less likely to do that. So these are the tactical questions that Carrick will have to face next season. But I think what's fascinating for me about this is that if a team like Manchester United does play that way, and I think there's an argument to be made they will look quite Andoni Iraola-y next season, and it can work it out and can get in the top four or so, then how does that change the way that teams approach? Because it used to be the case that we said, the good teams are the ones that play like Pep Guardiola, and everyone else is going to be there and thereabouts. If we are now going to see, and we've got Liverpool with Iraola, who we'll talk about in a bit, if we start seeing a bit more diversity at the top level of the Premier League, is that going to make teams a little bit more experimental from a tactical point of view? And rather than just solving these problems in the market, which I think has happened over the last few seasons, where it's like, this is a tactical problem, let's just sign a player who's like an outlier in that area, and then we don't really need to think of the tactical problem. We're actually just sort of fixing it with an individual. Whereas now I think that there may be teams who think, actually, if we are going to have to be smart around spending, why not find tactical fixes for some of these issues? So for me, the Manchester United is almost like a microcosm of that question. next season, depending on whether or not they buy one of these players. And I'm kind of interested to see how it plays out.
Yeah, okay. I mean, they've got some interesting selection questions as well, haven't they, JJ? I mean, we've seen Mbeumo under Carrick kind of played both on the wing and up front. They've got a couple of quite exciting young players who are just on the edges of breaking into the team. Are you excited about them this season? Do you think they'll be fun as well?
Yes, I think they'll be fun because I don't think they're going to have a set way of playing. I think they'll be very flexible and adaptable from game to game. And I think what you see, since Carrick came in, they've played 17 games in the league and they were top of the table. So I think if you're looking at what you're doing with the squad, you think, well, that's obviously already working, so that's good. Need to replace Casemiro is a big loss, especially the goals he scored from set pieces. They scored the second most set pieces, I think it is, last season. So they do that really well. Casemiro's a big part of that.
He scored a lot of winning goals as well, didn't he?
Yeah, and that's really important. Andre Santos, I think when he was playing for Strasbourg one season, scored something like 10 or 11 in a season, mostly from set pieces as well. So they got that. So basically, they addressed the issue they had there. Mount counts as a new player playing in the midfield role. I think he'll much better suit playing in that role now rather than being higher up the pitch, but you can play him where you want to. But they can, what he wants them to be able to do, I think, is he wants them to be able to play through lines with forward passes, like Tielemans and Santos show that's kind of what he's looking at with line-breaking passes. They're really high on that. He wants them to be able to play short passes and little rondos, so he bunches players together. Mm-hmm. He uses it tactically to drag players towards him to create space for others, but also it's because that's how you retain the ball. So they want to be able to keep the ball, but when that's not on, they want to go forward as quickly as they can. It's just like really basic, sensible coaching. So I think you want to get every manager you ever read about says we should be looking for the furthest forward pass early. We should keep in the ball. We should be the protagonist. We should be pressing high. And they're doing bits and pieces, but they'll change from game to game. And I think they're really decent. Bruno Fernandes is it's all built around him. And I think makes perfect sense because you can get a lot out of him, probably not for 60 games. Yeah. And he'll continue to get older. He'll start getting injured. Once he gets injured, that'll be him broken forever. One injury, he'll be gone. But yeah, I think they'll be great. And some of the, it's easy to get a bit overexcited with it and think it's the old Man United way because if they lose a few games like Solskjaer did, everyone starts backing up on Carrick and getting on his back.
Yeah.
But Shea Lacey's coming through. People have known about him for years. He's a right winger normally, an inverted winger, but you can play him in the middle. That's what he's been doing in pre-season. He's been great doing the little bits and pieces.
Yeah.
They've got the really young lad who's too young to even talk about, JJ Gabriel.
But he was named after you, wasn't he?
There's a lot of people called JJ now who seem to be appearing.
But your middle name is Gabriel as well, isn't it?
That's correct. I am JJ Gabriel.
Yeah.
Gabriel. I'm JJ Gabriel. Dreams can come true. Yeah. I think they're going to be decent. They've got some depth. I think the squad's actually all right. I think they've done really well with building it out. And also, if I was doing this with Man United, I'd be looking at the only players we should be buying are ones that make us better, and the only ones that should make them better are the top tier. Really hard to get. So they need to, if they can back up this season with one that keeps them in Champions League, that they're really developing, and if they're panicking them, I'm sure they'll buy someone in January that helps get them there. But if they can do that, it establishes them back where they should be, and players always want to go to Man United, and then they're not wasting their money. Your analogy about the top bar chocolate stuff that you buy is so right. Because if you have a tenner and you buy some stuff that you need to get, and you can keep that £7 for later, and you can add it to more to buy an even better thing you want later on.
That's expensive chocolate.
But then if you buy some bits that you don't actually intend to do in the first place, then you just have some bits you don't need, and it's also take up space. So that really works as an analogy.
It's the Maggie Mackenzie apples analogy, isn't it? Where she buys all of them because they're cheap, but then you can't use them quickly enough for them to be useful.
This is your mother who wastes fruit.
Yes. And will get mad at me for mentioning this, but maybe she'll never hear.
She probably won't have got through all of that deep United chat that we've done so far.
She is a Man United fan though. So.
Is she? Did I know that? Maybe I didn't know that.
One of the things that's interesting, it backs up JJ's point, is when Michael Carrick came in, the first thing he did was he had an individual meeting with each of the players, and he's like, can you tell me what you think is your strongest position? And can you tell me where else you feel comfortable playing? Because obviously that was such a big thing under Amorim, right? Where he was so rigid with what he did, with playing players in positions where they clearly weren't naturally comfortable, that was essentially the thing he wanted to address first and foremost, was if we can get you into a role where you're comfortable, and I have my own thoughts, of course, but what do you think? And first of all, that gets the players buy-in straight away, but it also gives him more of a scope for understanding them pretty quickly. And I think that showed in terms of the results, right? And obviously each coach is sort of a reaction to who came before him and whatever else. But I think Carrick's done that really well. And the other thing I wanted to bring up about Manchester United is that with those signings of Morgan Rodgers to Chelsea and Elliot Anderson to Manchester City this summer, the top 10 most expensive Premier League transfers of all time, the incomings, none of them are Manchester United signings anymore. And it used to be Pogba was number one, and that's still United's record, and that was 10 years ago now. So they're almost like now, and it's partly through circumstance, of course, of the financial realities and the performance on the pitch, but Manchester United are no longer this sort of stereotype of bad spending, glamorous signings, no matter what the cost, because that's what they always used to do, right? They always went for players with Manchester City, and whether it was Alexis Sanchez or Harry Maguire, and they always just outbid them. They're just always happy to pay a bit more. But when you do that, it just gives the agents incentives to be like, well, we will go to you, but we'll just keep upping our price, and it becomes completely unsustainable. Whereas now they're drawing a line, right? They were like with Matheus Fernandes, like, we're not going to pay that much money. Like, we rate you and we want you, but that's just, we've got our red lines and we're not going to go over them. And that's happened with quite a few players, not just this summer, but last year too. So I think it's quite interesting. I'm not necessarily saying that will lead to success, but I think it lays a foundation which has much greater stability. And I think fans can buy into that a lot more too. I think Manchester United fans look at that team and they think that there's not really individuals who they don't want at the club anymore. And I don't think that's been true for several years, but that squad looks like a good environment now.
Yeah, I think that's true. I guess the only downside of what you're saying, which is totally true, is it's people's reaction to it is just very results based. If they aren't placed well after 15 games, I can imagine the conversation being about how they weren't proactive enough in the transfer market. If Spurs have a good season, everyone just simply points to them and says, hey, that desperate club that overpaid for all those players is actually doing quite well. Who cares about overpaying, underpaying, whatever? That's what Man United should have done. So I feel as though, while what you're saying is true and it will remain to be true, it may not feel true come November time. Do you know what I mean?
I think as well with Manchester United, they've always been quite reactive against things like that as well. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they can sort of stick to their guns and say, not everything has to be linear. We finished in third. That doesn't mean we have to finish second and first next season. What we actually want to do is become a solid Champions League side. So we're finishing in those, because that's the thing, right? If you finish Champions League, then you're giving yourself such a lot of leeway in the market. So,
well, this is what I was going to ask as a final thing before we move on to the other clubs, and we'll do this for the other teams as well. Today, we think they're going to be fine. I think it's also clear from their transfer business so far that Man United aren't trying to win the league this season. Do we think they'll be top, I guess we can say 5 now? I guess we can say 5 now. It's been 5 for Champions League, hasn't it? Do you think they'll finish top 5? Yes or no?
As things stand, yes.
Okay, Colin?
Yes, but I would also say that I think they'll do better in the Champions League than the Premier League. I think that there's a better sort of team for that.
Oh, that's interesting. JJ?
I think they'll be challenging for the title, genuinely.
Really?
I don't think they'll be top 3.
Okay.
I don't think they're trying to do it. I just think they could be, and because of the back of a World Cup year and things tend to be a bit different. And
there's an opportunity here.
I think so. I really enjoy watching them now. So like every other team is just like forward, press, and now Man United's a bit different, and I like that. So I wouldn't mind if they did all right. So I think it's probably more like that I'd like to enjoy that rather than maybe I think it. I don't know what I think.
He's a servant of chaos.
Is it worth saying that like the error bars on every team are just massive?
The error bar.
Yeah, as in like you could put Manchester United like top 3. You could also put them like mid-table.
Oh, sure, right.
And I think that's true for every team this season.
Well, this is why we're asking the question now. This is why what do we think now? Because it's all about perspective, isn't it?
Like Man City under Maresca, we're not even, it doesn't matter about pre-season. You're not going to know what that is until they start playing in the league. And if that goes wrong very quickly, if they have a couple of like...
We've got a little Man City section.
When you put all the teams together, there's a world in which like it's
Newcastle
a Leicester
can win the league.
Well, they're going to be in trouble, I think. But then like, it's like a Leicester could win it. It's that sort of thing. It could be one of those.
It's wide open.
It will probably just be Arsenal.
I don't think Leicester are going to win it.
It is wide open as it had been since Leicester won it, I think. And Chelsea won it the following year, but that was that power vacuum, right? There wasn't really an established Pep Guardiola figure. There wasn't an established champion. And I know we're not going to talk about Arsenal, but the fact is the physical and emotional drain of last season could kick in. And again,
I think the emotional part's really important. Yeah.
Possibly again better for the Champions League than the Premier League because that's the nitty gritty of week to week, and those are the margins. So I think it's wide open as well.
Very exciting. It's very exciting, isn't it? Okay. Well, listen, we're going to have a break. We're going to play a rondo. When we come back, we are going to talk about Liverpool. We've got to talk about Man City, a little bit of Tottenham as well. So and some Chelsea. Plenty to come. And we're almost certainly not going to have time to do all of that as I say it out loud. So we'll have a quick break and a rondo. Okay, welcome back from the break. We're going to do a rondo now. Also, by the way, I forgot to mention, we're actually going to talk about Rodri to Barcelona. We'll do that after the rondo. Right now, here's the Rondo. Here's how the Rondo works. I ask a question that has multiple correct answers. We go around in a circle. We give correct answers. If we give incorrect answers, we are ejected from the Rondo. If we give an answer that's been given before, we are ejected from the Rondo. The final person standing is named Rondo Del Rey. And today's category question is, I'm looking for teams that will play in the 2026-27 English Championship. Championship teams of this season. There are, of course, 24 correct answers. And JJ, you look horrified, so I'm going to start with you.
Wrexham.
Wrexham is a correct answer. Of course it is. Of course it is. John?
Middlesbrough.
Middlesbrough, you can have. Colin?
West Ham United.
Yes, now, sadly, that is true. JJ?
Wolves.
Wolves? Yes. Also, did you know that Raul Jimenez has gone back to Wolves?
Yeah. I do know that, yeah.
Oh, I guess he just really likes it there.
Yeah.
You know? John?
Southampton.
Southampton are a championship team, Colin.
Burnley Football Club.
Burnley, of course they're there. JJ, back to you. Would you like a clue?
No, I don't want clues. I want to be able to do this. It's mental. Why can't I remember anything?
Would you like a clue, though?
No, I want to try and do it
I could give you
myself.
a clue if you say yes.
Sheffield United.
Sheffield United are there. Well done. Good job. John?
I keep wanting to say teams that have been promoted to the Premier League.
Don't say them.
I'm just thinking
Don't
about
say them
them
because they're not here.
Sitting in Bristol City.
Bristol City are there. Yeah. Well done for not saying Bristol Rovers.
I know, they're
I don't
not
know
there.
where they are. Colin?
Queen's Park Rangers.
Queen's Park Rangers, of course. QPR. JJ, would you like a clue?
Watford.
Watford? Yeah, Watford are there. John? A little bit of pause here. John, would you like a clue?
No, not.
John, there are 14 teams
I know there's
remaining.
loads, and I know them all.
And the clue is that you know all of the teams.
Yeah, I know them all.
And in fact, you've got a lot of the hard ones already, so this really should be straightforward.
It should be straightforward.
Okay, and a 5.
What is going on here?
3, 2, 1. Say a team. Say any team. Say a team. Say a team. Say a team name. Say a team. Say a team. Say one.
I can't.
Say a team. Say a team. Say one team.
I can't.
Say any team.
Any team.
Yes.
Any team.
I'll give you another 10 seconds. Honestly. Panicked. You've been panicked.
Stop pressuring me, man.
Let me just do an advert for your book. This is football expert Jon Mackenzie. He's published a book called Pep, the Spectre of Pep that haunts modern football. I know nothing about the championship.
Preston North End.
Well done. There you go. Okay. Colin?
Millwall.
Millwall, of course you can have. I think Colin's going to win this one. JJ?
Blackburn Rovers.
Blackburn Rovers, you can have. We're back at you, John.
Oh, come on.
Now, it's a 360-page book. It's absolutely fantastic.
All that time that I had before was time for them to...
I know.
And so now...
That is the double-edged sword of the Rondo. The longer you take, the more time they get to think of their... they have no pressure right now, whereas all the pressure is on you. And this time, I'm going to be less...
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth are there. Well, this one's very competitive. Colin?
Norwich City.
Norwich City, of course, are there. JJ?
This will be where I say goodbye. Bradford.
Goodbye.
Just thinking of ex-Premier League ones,
Okay, could this be Colin's opportunity? John, you have one more. I thought you did very well, JJ, by the way. John?
Birmingham City.
Birmingham City are there. Well done, Colin.
Derby County.
Derby County are there. Okay, back to you, John.
West Brom.
West Brom are there. We're down to 6 remaining correct answers. Colin? Colin pausing for thought for the first time. A glimmer of hope opens for Jon Mackenzie.
I have one in my head, but I don't want to use it too early.
Good
so I'm
idea.
thinking, do I have another safer option?
Yeah, I'm doing the same. Definitely, that's what I'm doing.
It could be time to pull the trigger.
Yeah, I'm going to pull that trigger. Lincoln City.
Lincoln City is correct, yes, well done.
Really good.
I feel like there must be a South Coast team. Oh, actually, what about Welsh team? What about Cardiff City? I don't think they're in there anymore. Swansea, though.
Swansea are there.
That's how you do it, lads. You pull it out of the bag.
That's generous.
Would you like to say Cardiff?
I don't want to say Cardiff.
Say Cardiff.
Are Cardiff in the
Yes,
Championship?
they are, yeah. John?
What? That's mine. He can't have that.
No, you lost faith in it halfway through. You didn't submit it as an
How many
answer.
left are there?
There's 3 left. I don't think we've ever got this close to the end of a rondo before.
I think-
Yeah, it's tight, isn't it?
Can't wait for the what do you call it? The something breaker? The tiebreaker of League One teams. That's going to be fun.
Is there another London team?
John, I'm going to start counting you down.
Can you tell me if there's a London team?
No, I can't. Of course I can't.
So there definitely is.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Leyton Orient.
Leyton Orient are not there. Colin, you have to get this correct in order to be named Rondo del Rey.
Stoke City.
Stoke City is a correct answer.
Really
well
good.
done, Colin. That was very competitive. There was another London team. It was, of course, Charlton Athletic you could have had. And then
I thought they were League One.
I thought they were League One too.
Yeah.
Big Bolton Wanderers. Big Bolton Wanderers. There you go. You could have had them as well. How about that? Now, that was very good. Very competitive, guys. Good job.
I pulled out the bag a few times there. I feel good.
You pulled out your bag a few times.
That's right.
Goodness
That's
me.
what happened.
Ooh. All right, well done to Colin there, named Rondo del Rey. Let's have a quick sojourn here, shall we? Barcelona, I'm talking about. Now, Barcelona this is a news story from The Athletic. Barcelona exploring deal for Manchester City midfielder Rodri, which is very interesting because I thought he was going to Real Madrid. This story by Paul Bayus and Mario Cortajana. Barcelona are exploring a deal to sign Manchester City midfielder Rodri. Sources close to the negotiations, speaking on the condition of anonymity to protect relationships, say Barca have held talks with the players' camp over the conditions of a potential deal. The Barcelona project is understood to appeal to Rodri based on the fit with their footballing style and an expected smooth adaptation to a dressing room where he would be reunited with 8 members of the Spain squad. JJ, I'm reading that, the smooth adaptation. It certainly makes more sense to me, him going to Barcelona, than what I thought when he was going. Well, I thought he was going to Real Madrid. It makes more sense, doesn't it?
Well, it's interesting from a football point of view. It does make sense because he seems like a Barcelona player.
Yeah.
But he's a Madrid boy.
Really?
Yeah, he's from Madrid.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, he played for Atletico.
Oh, did he? Well, that makes even more sense. Then, that he would not go to Real Madrid.
I don't know
if he played for Atletico.
Well, I don't know who he supports, but there's a good chance.
Right.
Growing up in Madrid, there's a fair chance
his family would be there as well, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But you have this. Do you not have this theory that everything is either Barcelona or
every footballer is everything.
I think everything
is either Barcelona or Real Madrid. I also have another theory. I was thinking about this yesterday. All people either are the kinds of people that when they walk across a zebra crossing, and now to be clear to international listeners in the UK, a zebra crossing
is where zebras cross the road.
Is where zebras cross the road. Is white and black lines across the road where it's always pedestrian right of way. So even if there's cars coming, if you want to walk over, a bit like a road in Canada where you just cross and the cars have to stop for you. It's incredible.
Because there's no cars. Is that the joke?
That's a zebra crossing. So there are 2 types of people in the world. There are people, when faced with a UK zebra crossing, that when they walk over it, they continue to walk at the same pace they were walking on the pavement, despite the fact that a car has stopped and is waiting for them. Or there are people who, even if somewhat performatively, do a little hop just to show, and they get a little hustle on out of politeness to the car. There are also 2 types of drivers. There's the kind that stop, which is the vast majority of people that stop at a zebra crossing. There's the kind that sneak through when they shouldn't. When someone's coming.
London, very bad for that, I think.
Very bad for that, I would say. Yeah, I mean, a lot of zebra crossings and a lot of annoyed drivers, but
breaking the highway code.
Mm-hmm.
I have another theory that there's also 2 types of people that are. Everyone is either a David or a Dave. Now, obviously, some people are literally a David or a Dave, but I think everyone has that personality where you're formally your name or you're a bit more of an informal, laid-back character.
Some people are
definitely
both,
the Daves,
but those people are crazy.
Oh yeah. You don't want to converse with them.
You're a David.
Oh.
I think you're a David. To me, you're a David. To you, are you a Dave?
I don't know. I think I might be one of those people it hasn't decided.
He's one of the guys in between who's crazy.
Yeah, he's Davide. You're a Dave for sure.
I don't think Dave suits me as a name.
No, it doesn't. Dave doesn't suit you as a name.
No.
But David doesn't either.
I think because Dave, no, it doesn't work for me.
It does work.
But Dave
I think you're definitely a Dave.
He's definitely a Dave.
Yeah.
Don't worry, it doesn't matter. He's you're a David, but you spent your whole life pretending to be a Dave. And I am Joe Devine. That's my name. Anyway, I can hear that people are absolutely livid with us for not immediately talking about the thing that we said we were going to. What were you saying, JJ? He feels like much more of a Barcelona player. Because, of course, you know everything. I'm just kidding. Go on.
Yes, exactly. About what? What do I know everything about?
Everything is either Real Madrid or Barcelona.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, I think he's he's both, really.
He's both.
Yeah, so, because the Barcelona-Real Madrid thing in Spain is really super interesting, because it is like two different ways of being.
Yeah.
The idea that he goes and plays under Mourinho is very easy to go like, oh, he's a dinosaur and he'll be doing all sorts of bits. But Rodri's amazing and he is a Galactico. So as one of the best players in the world, he would be great within that team. Perhaps that'll work very well for Mourinho. Don't know how that'll go there.
Yeah.
Barcelona, he'd be able to do all the lovely stuff he does for Spain. He was fantastic in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Surrounded by his teammates from the Spain team, that would be nice too.
That would be nice.
I don't know which is which. It's funny how...
They say that, there was someone telling me they had an injury in central midfield as well.
Frankie de Jong has got a medial ligament, not an ACL, but the medial ligament. So I think it's 3 to 4 months potentially he could miss at the start of the season. So they are light in that position. By the way, on Rodri, he has been openly flirting with a return to Spanish football and particularly Madrid. Now, this has been going on for actually years. Anytime there's an international break, Rodri goes back to Spain, obviously. Spanish media interview him. He's obviously a bit more comfortable talking to them. He's like, oh yeah, I'd love to return. Yeah, of course. And he's been very sort of open about that Manchester City has never really been his long-term future.
Right.
But it was always just assumed that it would be Real Madrid, right? And he's actually specifically said, when asked, oh yeah, you played for Atletico, would that be an issue? So no, of course not. I don't care.
Right.
So, and we did report that Real Madrid were working on the assumption going into next season that Rodri would be a Real Madrid player.
Yeah.
But
apparently, according to the deal sheet, personal terms with the midfielder were not expected to be an issue for Madrid, but negotiations with Manchester City over a fee were yet to be sorted. So it was at that stage.
Exactly. But I mean, he's one of those players that does actually pretty easily, I think, fall into either camp. I actually think Madrid missed a trick by not signing Martin Zubimendi when he was available in terms of the profile of what they needed for that midfield. And you can see that in Europe, that they just, whenever they can't just outpower teams with quality, with individual quality, they don't have that sort of systematic issue to fall back on. But it was really interesting. There was a report in El Chiringuito, the Spanish media outlet, in May, and they were like, Barcelona have 4 key targets this summer, and they listed them, right? Marc Cucurella, Denzel Dumfries, Bernardo Silva, and Yan Diomande, who are all now signing for Real Madrid. And the interesting thing about this is we all assume that, Madrid and Barcelona are these two distinct clubs with two distinct sets of values in terms of the players they look to sign. But this summer, for the first time in a very long time, there's been a huge crossover in the players that they are interested in. So I find that really interesting. And also Barcelona, surely they need to be prioritising striking arrivals. Yeah. Because Robert Lewandowski's left and hasn't been replaced. And Ferran Torres, who was sort of like the backup striker, very much feels like they don't trust him to be the number one striker, but he wants to be the number one striker. And there's indications that he could potentially be moving on too.
They let Marcus Rashford go.
They let Marcus Rashford go. Right. So obviously they've got the wide forwards, sort of, because they got in Anthony Gordon, they got in Karim Adeyemi, but they potentially need 2 central strikers. Which is and big
with Rashford, I just mean he could in theory deputise at 9 as well, couldn't he?
He could. I am quite surprised that they just didn't take up the option that they had. I think he had a good season there, but I don't think he showed enough in terms of he could be the number one striker, which is what they want for what his outlay would be in terms of the overall financial package, which would be the club's position. But I'm still surprised that that after doing quite well and being a good option in that position, they didn't carry through with that. But that's sort of by the by. The fact is they think Rodri is an achievable target financially.
To what extent do you think the World Cup impacted this decision by Barca? Because they've got obviously a ton of Spanish national team players, but also Rodri surprised a lot of people in the World Cup anyway, right?
Yeah, and I think that's actually true. I mean, obviously everyone knows Rodri's a great player, but it does feel like Real Madrid and Barcelona's interest has been piqued by his World Cup performances, which is what we're always told you should not do. You should never sign players based on World Cup. And I know it's beyond that with Rodri. I know it's not like they didn't know what he was like, but there wasn't this level of interest that there currently is. And what I found interesting as well, and this is an issue that probably be quite smoothly ironed out, I think, but there has been a stylistic issue with Rodri and Pedri being in the same team in terms of Spain. Now, Pedri was dropped from the Spanish team because Fabian Ruiz came in and Dani Olmo were a bit of a better dynamic midfield 3. So at club level, surely that could present an issue too. I don't really think Pedri is the sort of player, I can't really imagine him anywhere else but Barcelona. So if you're bringing in Rodri, who's already 30, has had a long-term injury,
Newcastle need some players.
There's also an outside chance that Barcelona are bidding for Rodri with no intention of actually buying him,
right?
Just purely to wind up Real Madrid and make sure they pay more.
That would be fun.
That is the sort of thing that might happen in real life,
right?
Well, that's what Real Madrid did for Julian Alvarez. They were like, the 150 million euro player was 150 million euro player was Julian Alvarez, and we were going to approach Atletico Madrid with the offer. Oh, they've rejected it. Oh well, sorry about that. We'll all move on. Because Barcelona wanted to sign him, they wanted to drive the price up, and they're like, no, you can pay us 400 million release clause or whatever. Obviously, nobody's going to pay. So those games are real. Yeah.
Well, it will also have a big impact on Manchester City, of course, who have will not only potentially lose Rodri, have also lost Bernardo Silva, and perhaps most importantly, lost Pep Guardiola over the summer. A huge summer of change, John. The Premier League title, right, Steve, has not resided in the blue half of Manchester for 2 seasons now, and with lots of other stalwarts, including John Stones, also leaving. How likely is it, we think, that the title will return? I mean, it's hard at this stage to really read too much into Manchester City because we just simply haven't seen enough of them under Maresca. But it's certainly going to be, I think it'll be a difficult season.
Yeah, error bars everywhere.
Yeah, huge error bars.
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I've never been like a massive Maresca head. I don't know if anyone
You've never
has,
been a massive Maresca head?
Yeah, like a...
As in you love Maresca?
No,
I've never been. You've never been
I've never been a huge fan.
You're a fan of, but you're not a huge fan of.
I'm not a fan. I don't know. But either way.
You're not a fan of Maresca?
No one cares about my opinions.
Let me just ask you a series of questions. Yeah. Yes or no answers, okay? Are you a massive fan of Maresca?
No.
Are you a fan of Maresca?
I mean,
only yes or no.
But like, what do you mean by
wait. Only
I need more clarification.
No, you don't.
The question doesn't
only
have
yes
enough
or no.
information.
Only yes or no. Are you a fan of Maresca?
No.
Let me ask. Okay, now, but okay, right. So your answer to are you a fan of Maresca was no. But are you a fan of Maresca?
No, also.
Oh, also no. How about this one? How about this one? Are you a I don't know, like a fan of Maresca or?
Still no.
Still no. How about this? Do you like Maresca?
He's okay.
Right, okay. Do you think Maresca's a good football manager?
So this is the interesting thing about Maresca is
he stopped the game.
Yeah, because you're trying to throw me under that bus.
It's because I've been reading your audiobook all week, so I just have no time for your long-winded opinions. No, go on. What were you saying? Sorry. I do. I want to hear more. Come on, tell me more.
I've lost my train of thought.
You okay, John? That was
someone else have an opinion.
No, go on.
No,
it's going to be a tough season for them. Come on.
No.
Yes or no?
No.
And scene. What do you think about the season? It was just a bit. The whole thing was just a bit. Yeah.
I don't know. I think with. I think throughout Maresca's career, particularly in England,
which is just Chelsea and Leicester, right?
Chelsea and Leicester, yeah. He's gone into those teams and he's made them quite rigidly positional, and I think a little bit has adopted quite a passé version of a positional approach, where it's a lot about the old style Guardiola stuff of like finding wingers, wide players. So all the players are coming off the pitch, doing in training and doing interviews with journalists and saying, "Oh, it's a little bit different to what we did with Guardiola. It's all about getting the ball out to the wingers where they can get fronted up with fullbacks and go around, etc." The stuff that we saw happening for both Leicester and Chelsea happening a lot. Yeah. And it's kind of interesting because obviously we talk about the tactical landscape shifting. Sometimes maybe I'm in danger of suggesting that therefore the old stuff is now no longer good.
Right.
I try to caveat that by saying, no, I think that the tactical landscape has become more diverse. You can play that way. There are other ways of playing that are dangerous as well. And often the teams
just that there's lots more solutions for the old way,
right,
in a way that there wasn't 5 years ago.
Exactly. Yeah. And so whenever I've watched Maresca, I've always had that suspicion deep down that he's just not responded to the modern landscape as much as he should have done. I think he has responded a bit. There is like more fluidity in his game. The second season at Chelsea, I think there was that improvement, and they got into the top 4 and then dropped out when he left. So I think there's the potential that we'll see that same kind of thing happening at City. But right now, I'm sort of unclear as to whether or not he will evolve more towards that direct style of play that we started seeing Guardiola doing at the end of his time at City, which I think is important because they brought in a lot of players who suit that style of play.
Yeah.
And it seems as though Maresca is kind of going back a little bit. And, there's been those links with Pedro Neto, for example, which again, just he's I don't know what Manchester City fans would feel about them signing Pedro Neto, but it just seems as though he's kind of going back to that Chelsea style of play. So
because at this stage it's just Elliot Anderson and then Jeremy Monk that they've signed, right?
Yeah, I think so. Right. I mean, you've presumably checked.
There's also a guy called Pierce Charles from Sheffield Wednesday, but I think
he's going to be fundamental for their season.
Northern Ireland's number one.
Is
Charles? Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Pierce Charles,
brother of Shea Charles.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that? That's nice, isn't it?
So yeah, for me, whether or not the difference here is that you take a team like Manchester City, who all the players are just absolutely steeped in playing positionally, and that means that he doesn't have to impose like a lot of the rigidity stuff and like the formalized stuff and the rotations and the automations, etc. And it becomes quite fluid quite early on. That could happen. Mm-hmm. And that's, for me, sort of the sticking point on Maresca. Are we going to see him sort of fall back into what we saw at Chelsea, which is, at the beginning, he tried to be a bit more direct because he just replaced Pochettino, but then it became a bit more controlled. He wanted to stop giving up so much in transition. And as a result, it felt as though the in-possession side suffered as well. So yeah, I think he'll be okay. I think he'll be fine, but I'm sort of interested to see where the error bars sort of actually end up working out. Does he actually get them comfortably in the top four, maybe even a title challenge, or is it going to be a season where it's like, well, it's a tough act to follow Pep Guardiola?
One of the interesting things about Maresca is like his record looks fine, doesn't it? I mean, he's sort of won trophies. I know not like a major trophy, but he has been relatively successful. But whenever he left Leicester, and then again when he left Chelsea, there wasn't any sense of we're really sad that this guy's gone. So like the
Leicester fans hated him. Right?
So like we kind of respect you, but we don't particularly. There's no love, right?
Right. It's like a fridge, Like it's you actually can't live without a fridge.
Yeah.
But like you don't love your fridge. I mean, maybe some people do love their fridge.
I like my fridge.
I like my fridge.
Did you buy your fridge?
No, it's a rented flat.
It's white goods that came with the rented flat. Did you buy your fridge?
Well, it came with a flat that I bought some of, yeah.
So you didn't choose your fridge?
No.
So it's like an arranged marriage?
But I would choose it every time.
Would you?
Absolutely.
What is it about your fridge that you like?
I have it.
Yeah.
And it keeps things inside.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I need it to do.
But if it were to one day go and another fridge came and replaced it,
well, I want a hotter fridge that has
ice cubes on the front. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
exactly.
Pep Guardiola's got ice cubes on the front. Enzo Maresca,
but I think this about managers all the time, like exactly what Colin's saying. So, like the not just the charisma, but the character of certain people, like fans can easily, for want of a better phrase, like fall in love with him. Like Jurgen Klopp, everyone loves him because he's this like lovable outward thing. Guardiola, really easy to like love the idiosyncrasies and just his character, fantastic. Loads of like Eddie Howe at Newcastle, these sort of people, Arteta at Arsenal, you know exactly why people are so like taken with these people. Maresca seems like one who's just sort of visiting. He's never really going to be there forever. He feels like quite
a stepdad.
Not like that. No, I don't think it's like a stepdad. He's like it's not
substitute teacher,
not a mercenary either. Not a substitute teacher. It's just sort of he's obviously very good at what he does.
Yeah.
But you want more. It's just like a teacher that no one's going to like love or
like they're a really good teacher.
Yeah,
but it's like nah.
It's just like but I don't get it. I don't.
Isn't a big part of it that the play style is quite boring though, right? And again, it's maybe the worst end of that positional play spectrum where it's about just like making sure you control the ball and then you make the conditions that you're attacking so difficult and don't have the players to break it down, so it just ends up being.
But isn't this a huge worry? Because I mean, obviously, as is written in your book about Pep Guardiola, he changes his tactics over time because of the changing tactical landscape. But also one of the things he does is he buys Erling Haaland, who massively thrives on this more direct style of play. And the most fun moments watching City last season were when Erling Haaland scored amazing goals.
Semenya, players
Isn't
like
that a bit
now.
like, are we not worried that Enzo Maresca is going to shave off the exciting edge there with those more direct players?
I am, but also maybe having super control and then having the magic moments from players like Semenyo and Doku, maybe that'll work. I think the Haaland thing's really interesting because like Guardiola had to make things in place so he gets in behind, but I don't know if you'll see that from Maresca. Maybe he'll adapt. I feel like Maresca, maybe I'm totally wrong and I'm being unjust to Maresca.
That's what pre-season podcasts are for, JJ.
Well, that's good. But like the man as a person, right? So I don't know what his ideas are. I never talked to him personally, but I feels like he's almost borrowing and copying from other people to do his version of it rather than making his own innate thing.
Is he an imitator more than a creator?
I feel like he is. I feel like Guardiola is making Radiohead albums, but this guy's making something that sounds like Radiohead but isn't like, the difference between Arctic Monkeys and like other bands are just like them. I don't, they're a bit different though.
Like I'm trying to think of like bands like in disrespect. Who's just copying Radiohead?
I don't know. Well, it's like AI versions of songs, right?
That bad.
So it's not as bad as that, but it's maybe in modern nouns people might understand without me being super harsh on it. But it feels like Guardiola can make songs, and you can tell when a song's AI, even though it sounds it's obviously it sounds very similar to that band. They could definitely make that song, but there's something about it you can just tell, and there's something like that with Maresca with it, so it doesn't quite align with what the people in the stadium want to watch.
I heard this AI song the other day. It was about Chris Wood. None of the lyrics made any sense. They were really simple rhymes. And I was like, I could tell straight away that was written by AI.
You should hear the production. They should kill that robot.
So do we think Maresca is like a Pep Light sort of figure? Like, is he like a decaffeinated?
I have that impression. I think John might be able to say otherwise, but I have that impression. I feel really that seems really harsh what I said about him, but that's what kind of comes across to me, and the fact that no one loves him really where places he goes, and then also he seems to have this thing where he needs to sort of justify that he is good. He wanted to be more of a big thing at Chelsea. He wanted to write a book to try and increase his profile was something I read. I'm not sure if that's even true as well. But yeah, that's kind of what I got from him.
So it's funny because I could very much be wrong about this. I have been wrong about this before because I used to think of Luis Enrique as being a Pep Light sort of figure. I used to think of him as being like quite a rigid positional guy. And now I think of him as one of the best managers in the world. So you can definitely evolve and you can definitely change, and maybe that will happen next season.
Yeah.
But the reason why I've maybe been a little bit more cautious is just the players coming off the pitch and saying things like, it's just about getting the ball to the wingers and sort of having them sort out your problems there. And, maybe that will work. And he's got much better players to work with at City than he had at Chelsea, I think, for that style of play. And so maybe it will work out fine.
I was thinking as well because City.
Can I, just before you carry on, can I interrupt you to say this was published by the BBC on the 1st of January. Maresca, this is in the article about how he'd left Chelsea. Maresca had hoped to raise his profile following the Blues' successes through opportunities outside the club. He was planning to publish a book before being blocked. So he didn't actually publish it.
Right, yeah.
Not everyone can write a book,
There you go. He was going to do it without the club.
But that's it. So he wants to be appreciated for what he.
John wants you to know he wrote a book.
I can't wait to read it. But he's so Maresca wants to be recognised as amongst the other ones. Like he clearly has these ideas and thinks of himself as being maybe an innovator. Maybe I'm totally wrong about it, and there's something that he gives off that he doesn't get that, and he can't get the appreciation that he wants.
Yeah.
But City conceded quite a lot of goals last season, a lot more than he normally would under Guardiola. Because Guardiola favoured being more in behind, maybe trying to get Haaland, especially in positions where he can score, as opposed to the ultimate control that he had. Because that kind of needed to move on because it just doesn't always work. You've got to keep adapting and moving and changing. And Maresca's this will work, and then if it doesn't, he'll obviously start changing it and stuff like that. But that's kind of the control might benefit them. The control might totally benefit them, and then will Haaland score 30 goals off the back of being a penalty box poacher rather than a threat? It's so hard because I think you should just build your tactics around the players individually that you have. That's how you should do it, and you build a system that suits them. But when you start going the system is God, this is what we do, and then you must be within that, it can definitely work. But I just feel like because everyone now is so good at playing out of possession and pressing and taking away all your options, when you do anything rigid, it's so easy to analyse what they're doing and you can stop it. So you need to find ways to get around that. And then if you do something new, it lasts for about 15 minutes. And then one of the 18 analysts on the bench goes, well, they're doing this now. So they fix that in game. So that you can't ever really gain an advantage. Maybe
unless you just keep doing it.
Unless you keep doing things all the time, So I don't know. Yeah.
I just think that beyond all this is the fact that whenever somebody like Pep Guardiola leaves a club, he was there for 10 years, but City had pretty much built that club for him, right? There's the Soriano, the Bergestein appointments.
It's the Pep Guardiola football club, let's be honest.
But like, it was him, right? Like everything always reverted back to Pep Guardiola. And even in the past year or two, when things didn't go quite as well, there was sort of like, well, Pep Guardiola had such authority that it didn't really matter. There was that stability there, and he was the guy that could sort of soak up everything, and all the focus would be on him. But now the players are kind of don't have that shield, so things go wrong. There's not like they, maybe before they couldn't get away with not playing well because they had Pep there. But now it's sort of like, if Manchester City don't make a strong start, the questions aren't necessarily going to be about the players. They're going to be about the coach instead, and that is an added thing. Now that exact thing happened with Moyes at United when he replaced Ferguson, and the players essentially were like, well, if we're not performing quite well, we're not going to get much of the slack. It'll always be the coach first, and that's just the way football is. So I kind of think that Man City, I kind of worry that maybe they're a little bit directionless at the minute, in terms of like, they're just another big spending club, right? They don't have anything special about them anymore. There's nothing that really sets them apart. Like even this season, Elliot Anderson, Mark Gahey, and Antoine Semenyo in January. Now, those are three players that any Premier League club would want. And City just outbid rivals, right? They just offered more money. That's why they got them. That's why they signed those three players. And that is kind of like just what clubs have always done, but there's nothing particularly interesting or exciting about that. You're just the richest club who spends that money. It's not. There used to be interesting things about City and the players they signed, but I don't really think that exists anymore.
I think even more, like, this is a bit football man-y, but I'm convinced it's real. Like, the way that Real Madrid managed to dominate for so long is they built this like team of winners, like, it's a really good team, but they kept like the experience and the knowledge of how to win those games, and they sort of transferred them on, so they didn't all go at once. But the brain drain from Man City, like, Guardiola's gone obviously enormous, that's going to change everything. But also in the last 2 years, like Gundogan, De Bruyne, Akanji, Walker, Ederson, Bernardo Silva, and like Ake, who are all there for all the winning of stuff. Obviously they move on, right? And so you need to bring new ones through. But I think you need to I feel like you need to retain some of that knowledge within the club. Like, you see that the players that, well, at Tottenham now, they signed Robertson specifically to try and do that. Chelsea signing Henderson and Welbeck specifically to try and bring this sort of the right kind of culture in and the right kind of thing. Because City were built for this Guardiola thing, and now it's a whole new thing. It feels like it's a whole new, it's like that was a moment in time, and now it's a whole brand new thing. And by not retaining a lot of that, I think it's precarious.
Precarious indeed. Precarious. There we go. I think that's the end of the show, Steve, isn't it?
I agree.
How about that? Well, it turns out we didn't have time for all of those other... For 60% of the show, we didn't have time for. But thank you, JJ Bull.
Thank you.
Thank you, Colin Millar.
Thank you.
And, I'm really really hoping that the more I say that, the more people start. Maybe even in the office to say, is it Colin Millar? Is it? I never knew. Thank you, Jon Mackenzie.
All right.
I don't know if you know, but Jon Mackenzie is the famous author of the book Pep Guardiola He's haunted my, what's it called?
Dreams.
Your life.
Pep has haunted my house. The spectre of Pep. How modern Guardiola haunts modern football.
And if people are interested in that book,
where can they find it?
Well, they can find it somewhere online.
Yeah, they can find it online.
There is a live event.
Oh, yes, no.
With you and me.
We said this in the intro.
Oh, did we?
We haven't said it yet, but we will say it in the intro. Yeah. Okay, great stuff.
So come to the live event.
Yeah. No, and I will probably have already also said this in the intro, but no, I don't think there's a show next Monday, but there might be a couple of Ring for Analysis next week. We'll talk about this. We don't know what's happening, but we'll definitely be here with a show on Thursday morning. Okay, there you go. Thanks. Bye.